Hello everyone, today we are in Indian Calcutta, beautiful and dreadful at the same time. Here it is across the river. However, today our Calcutta will be surprisingly not Indian, but Armenian, and we will meet this Armenian Calcutta as soon as we cross the river and dock at the shore. Yes, that's exactly what it is, I'm not crazy, Armenian Calcutta. For almost 300 years, there has been a large and powerful community of Armenians in one of India's largest cities, the former capital. Most of them came here from Persia. Moreover, they came here several decades before the British, and possibly they, Armenians, were among the founders of Calcutta. And in the 20th century, almost all of them suddenly left the city or died of old age. In order to learn more about the Armenian diaspora of Kolkata, I went to visit its last representatives. At the same time, I found out how Armenians have changed the look of the city and how they have influenced the Bengali cuisine. I made the route of my walk around the city from the locations important for the Armenian history of Calcutta. And I started from the Hooghly River. I boarded the ferry and went to the Armenian Ghat. One of the oldest and busiest neighborhoods in Calcutta, Bara Bazar, or Big Bazaar in Bengali, starts at the Armenian Ghat. There is nothing Armenian around here, only Indian, but that is only at first glance. Well, here's Armenian Street. This is where St. Nazareth Church is located. An Armenian church that you can barely see among the rooftops and wires. Yet here it is, and here we are now approaching the entrance. Random people are not allowed in here. The church is not open to the public, but you and I are about to enter because we are invited. The tall gates are like a portal from a bustling Bara Bazar to another world. Two spouses, Zaven and Liana are waiting for me. She is from Gyumri, an Armenian. He is from Kolkata, half Armenian, half Indian.
So your father is Armenian and mother is...
Indian, Hindu. She's a Hindu. Father's side is, again, my father is the second generation Armenian. My grandfather is the first generation. But we haven't lost being an Armenian.
And from which part of Armenia your ancestors did come?
Our grandfather's part, they came from highlands of Armenia, which is the greater Armenia.
Western Armenia.
In 1988, there was a big earthquake in Gyumri, in my hometown, and all the city was in ruins. And there was a program for educating children. It was just kind of support, kind of help. And they took us to this Armenian College. It was after Soviet Union, when Soviet Union collapsed. So they did this program, and I was chosen to have education in this country. I was here for 3 years. Education was totally in English. And then we were taken back to Armenia as a holiday and never taken back to India again. So we both studied at the same college. I went back in 1995. Then again came back last year for marriage because we are both baptized at this church.
The Armenian church in Calcutta is one of the oldest churches in India. This was built in 1707. The Armenians' presence in India has been over, I would say, about 4 or 5 centuries now. Yeah, because remember, the Armenians were always running away from the Ottoman Empire. They were always being persecuted right through centuries. There was always the reason, the business was one of the main routes that they came and went. Today we have the Armenian Ghat here, where we had ships coming from all over the world and getting to the Armenian Ghat here. So there was a port. Yeah. And it was called Armenian. So this whole 2-mile radius around this place is called the Armenian Street. So it shows that they had a really good presence to give this whole place a sense of own identity. These are all the graves, like these are very old graves, here for centuries. Like some are really very, very old. This person here, or the statue there, he's the father of journalism, basically. He started journalism for the Armenians, and the first printing press was printed in Madras, the Armenian printing press. Yeah, so there is a lot of history. The Armenians are connected with India. They were the first, basically, European people to settle in India before the British even. Once upon a time, Armenians had a very strong presence. They were rich, they were handsome, they were pretty,
Popular.
they were popular in games. A lot of the Armenians have represented India in the Olympics. Very strong rugby team we had, right from the early 1900s till early 2000. There was a time when we Armenians were 20,000 on the maximum population which we had.
Total in India or in Kolkata only?
In India, we had 20,000 once upon a time, but in Kolkata, we always had a few, not more than I would say 10 to 15,000. But the majority were based in Calcutta.
You can touch the luxury and success of the Calcutta Armenians of the past even today, and to touch in the literal sense.
Park Street, Queen's Mansion. 100, okay?
For this, I get in a cab and go to the more respectable part of Kolkata center. For many years, the city used to be the capital of British India, one of the major commercial and trade centers of all of Asia, but it has been in decline for almost a century. Today, Kolkata is like an impoverished nobleman, with only his style left of his former luxury.
Мы на Парк Стрит.
We are on Park Street. It's probably the most famous street in Calcutta, kind of like Tverskaya Street in Moscow, the center of local party and business life. When discussing the appearance of the city, its architecture, one often recalls the influence of the Mughals, the British and the Bengalis. But Park Street is a special story. This street owes its appearance to the Armenians, or rather to Armenian developers. For example, Tadeusz Misrop Tadeusz, who laid this building called Park Mansion more than 100 years ago. By the early 2010s, the building's centenary year, it had been renovated. Therefore, the Calcutta style, or rather Victorian style mixed with Indo-Saracenic, has been preserved here in pristine condition.
Здесь даже удалось...
Here I even managed to get on the roof. The guards let me through without any objections or problems. And here I am walking around, admiring the Armenian Indian Calcutta from above. Few details of the biography of Misrop Tadeusz, the Armenian real estate developer who built this house, are known. However, the main Armenian business star of that era in Calcutta was a different man. The most famous man among the Armenian real estate tycoons who operated here on Park Street at the turn of the 19th and 20th centuries was Avanes Karapet Galstan. I think in Armenia his family name would have been pronounced as Galstyan, but when after arrival to India, to Calcutta, Armenian surnames were gradually somehow twisted. This building was constructed about 100 years ago by him under his direction with his money. It's called Queen's Mansion. For a long time it was known as the Galstown Mansion. That is where multimillionaire's Galstown's bad luck began. Famous horseman, racing star, passionate plaintiff in endless trials, one of the city's biggest developers. He built his career from the ground up, building mansions, cinemas, apartment buildings. Around 100 years ago, Galstown was in his 60s and took on a project that was too big and too expensive. This mansion is what we're talking about. To do it, Galstown mortgaged some of his property and racked up debt. He never made a profit. He sold the building, and from that point on, the decline of Galstown began, and with it, the decline of Calcutta itself. By the 1940s, by the time of India's independence, Calcutta has lost its status as a business capital. And in the late 60s, when the communists came to power in West Bengal, Indian corporations moved their headquarters to other metropolitan areas. In the early 70s, as a result of the Bangladesh War of Independence, crowds of refugees poured into the city. So, in general, yes, once again, from the former exuberance, Calcutta still has only its style. It's getting evening in the city. I wander down Park Street towards another Armenian church, St. Gregory the Illuminator. It's hidden behind a high concrete fence that keeps it from the slum world around it. and it's just a stone's throw from fashionable Park Street. I asked the guard to let me in to take pictures, and suddenly I'm in luck. The guard brings in a man who lives at the church. The man introduces himself as Zaven and turns out to be the brother of the very same Zaven and agrees to an interview.
What kind of life do Armenians here in Kolkata live? I mean, in sense of interacting with locals.
They live a very lavish life. I will not say the Armenians live a very lavish life. They have everything. The Indian Armenian community provides them with food, provides them with clothes, education, free ticket, going abroad, and medicals. Everything is provided for them. It's basically a benefactors back in the days. Like, say, suppose I would say it's in dollars, if you think. So back in 1743, they deposited like 90,000 American US dollars for 51 years. And then after 51 years, it turned out to be that big an amount that they couldn't know where to fund it. So they couldn't have their own homes and lavish cars and technology. So what they did back in the days was build schools and churches. So that was the main mission of the Armenians in India. So the Stephen family is a very rich family in Calcutta. Like, we own like real estates. Like, we don't only real estates in a city. We own in like different cities. Like, we have in Bangladesh, we have an Armenian church. We have in Singapore. We have in Hong Kong. We have our own doctors. We have our own nurses, our personal nurses, our own doctors, everything. Everything is provided for us from our great-granddad, because they were visionaries. They were benefactors. So that's why this church is known as Saint Gregory, the Illuminator Church, because it's always illuminating, means it's giving the visions of God, like, prophecies coming true.
And do you have any connections, I mean, like maybe personal or business or any other kind of connections with Armenia?
No, I don't do my connections with Armenia. My connection is mostly with America.
And you told you've been to Armenia itself, yeah?
Yeah, I've been to Armenia. It was okay. It was very cold for me and stuff and all. The food was a bit stale for me. Over here, the food is fresh. Like, this is my country. This is where I was born. So, like, in my country, I can be a king and emperor. But in Armenia, they will see me as a foreigner. They see me as a black person.
But you speak Armenian, yeah? With
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm fully. I think yes. I know a little bit of my little bit of Russian Armenian comes out of mine as well, because I was in Gyumri for a long time. So,
yeah. The Armenian language you speak here and your neighbors speak here, is it?
no, the people don't know Armenian. They've forgotten the Armenian because they're not speaking to Armenian people. So only the kids in Armenian College that speak like the Armenian. But the main mission of the Armenian College was to have kids from Iran and broken families, like war families, like Iraq and Gaza and all those places, Armenia, and from, like, back in the days, they used to come from Russia and Iraq. And so basically, my granddads brought them as refugee camps over here for their safety from war. So to be frank, that's the true story. Like, to get to the bottom line, the whole mission of the Indian Armenian family, of my family, is bringing refugees from abroad countries, from war turmoil countries, putting them in like a camp in a college, giving them education, giving them food, giving them everything till their men get ready for army at the age of 18, and some become priests and some become engineers, and the women become nurses, or they become nuns, or they become like a choir group.
Before we continue, here's a small appeal to the viewer. The Passenger YouTube channel does not rely on the help of visionaries from the past. The videos are shot on my own funds, and your support would be very helpful, including for the sake of creating new, unique content. You hardly can watch anything like Passenger channel anywhere, and of course, subscriptions and comments will help as well. And now back to the story. In 2021, Calcutta Armenian College celebrated its 200th anniversary. The very center of the city. Like local Armenian churches, it is hidden behind a secure fence and a guard in the booth. Not so long ago, the building was renovated, and now only the Museum of College History keeps the smell of antiquity. The Steven brothers, Zaven and Zare, their father and grandfather studied at this college, as well as Avanes Karapetgalstown studied here, and probably all Armenians in general who found themselves in Calcutta as a child or teenager. In order to see today's students and other members of the community, I took a train 50 kilometers away from the city to a place called Chinsura to attend Sunday service at another Armenian church. There are 5 of them in Kolkata and the surrounding area, but there is not enough Armenians for all of them.
We try and have services every Sunday. So we have service in this church, then we have another service in another church. The 5 churches we rotate. This is one of the few churches that we've got in Calcutta, Calcutta, the state West Bengal. This is the 5th church called St. John the Baptist Church. This was built in 1695. Every year the Armenian community around from Calcutta and outer suburbs, they come here to celebrate John the Baptist, the prophet.
Armenians in Kolkata are still united by the Armenian College and the Armenian Apostolic Church. This church's spiritual and administrative center, Holy Echmiadzin, near Yerevan, Armenia, sends its priests here, and traditionally it is the clergymen who head the college. They also conduct church services. Father Petros Karian has been serving in Calcutta for a few months now. I had a chat with him in Russian. Father Mavses Sargsyan has been the head of the college for several years now. Like Father Petros, he came from Armenia. He used to serve as the chief chaplain of the Armenian Ministry of Defense. College students also participate in the service. Young Armenians from various countries, including Iraq, Iran, and even Myanmar. Among them are refugees and orphans. Just as in the years of Liana's childhood, the college supports Armenians in difficult life situations. It is becoming increasingly difficult to maintain Armenian traditions in their original form in Kolkata.
What we do is we get together, have a feast after the service. So we have a service at the start and then we have a feast. Usually in the olden times we had a proper Armenian feast where you had dolmas, basturma, all the Armenian fish and palau and everything that you would say Armenian was there. That is because the Armenian community then was bigger than what we have now. But we are dwindling, it's becoming smaller. Though we're keeping the tradition, not that we're losing the tradition. We're having the mass in the morning and then we get together for a feast.
Armenians have left a visible mark not only on the streets of Kolkata, but also in Bengali cuisine, patoler darma, aka patoler dolma. This is Armenian tolma in the Bengali way.
Не очень доступны виноградные листья.
Grape leaves are not available to wrap dolma in, so a small pumpkin called gurt is used. In front of me, right here, are 2 servings. One is vegetarian patoler darma, the other with meat. I don't know what kind of meat it is. Let's take a look, extract it.
Это, по всей видимости,
It's probably a meat one. Let's taste. I know Armenian dolma, I love it, but I don't think this is like it at all. India Today newspaper already called Calcutta Armenians a vanishing community 30 years ago. They wrote that it numbered only 200 people or even less. I tried to find out from each of my interlocutors how many people there are in diaspora today.
So it's only 3 families that at the moment is left in India. That are the real Indian Armenians that run the 7 churches in India. So that's my family.
And all of these 3 families, all of them are presented here in Kolkata.
Yes, and I'm the head of the family. Yeah. I control all the real estate part, like all the funding, the donations and stuff and all, the medical bills and all.
We all spread out and a lot of Armenians have integrated marriages. So they were first generation, second generation, third generation. And because of that, you don't have a pinnacle point to say that this is the amount of Armenians you have. But according to my estimate, because I've been in the city, I would say at this moment there is not more than 200, I would say, Armenians left in the city.
I think he's just being humble to mention that just his family is left in, how to say, Indian Armenians. Just his family is left in India because, I don't know, older generation, mostly they didn't get married to. I don't know why this happened, that's why generation somehow stopped. It doesn't mean that they immigrated or they didn't want to live in India, but they were old and they all passed away with no kids, no families, no wives. But he has just 3 sisters and a brother. Mom is still there. Father passed away last year. His family is still here. But again, mixed marriages. Just he is married to I'm Armenian actually. He's married to Armenian. All other sisters are married, different nations, different religions even. But because there are no Armenians, that's the problem. Those who left school, that Armenian College, they all went back to different countries. Majority went to America. We have friends living in America. Even he immigrated, he is not living in India, but time to time we are coming to Calcutta.